So hi guys, this is Navdeep Singh Jetla. Welcome to my channel. I'm an immigration law researcher and today we are learning how to verify the authenticity of Canadian job offer. Alright, so stay tuned and let's see what happens here. So this is the Justice Law website of Canada, as you can see here, and I'm gonna directly jump on to the main section of genuineness of job offer. Alright, so here we are going to look at the factors which are important and which will determine if the offer is valid or not. All right, if it's genuine or not. So this is completely the law, what law says and what law demands. And the first option says whether the offer is made by an employer that is actively engaged in the business in respect of which the offer is made, unless the offer is made for employment as an live-in caregiver. So that employer must be actively engaged in the business. The business must be continuously working, and it should be. All right, so the next point, it says whether the offer is consistent with the reasonable employment needs of the employer. For example, if an employer is running a company in Canada and based on his current situation and the financial situation of the company, and also the working of the company, the law and the visa officer also will analyze whether or not this company requires a new manpower or not, because there must be certain need based on looking at their financial reports, looking at their working from an employer standpoint, that they'll also have to submit a lot of proofs, for example a lot of reports stating that they're generating a good business and now they're looking forward to hire more labor so that they can serve those requests. So it should be the case where the business requires more manpower. The number 3 is whether the terms of the offer are terms that employer is reasonably able to fulfill. So whatever the job offer is being made, and we usually see in the job offer employers claim that they will give you accommodation. Sometimes they'll give you the cab facility, they'll give you blah blah blah. So based on that, the visa officer will see whether or not this employer may be able to give these facilities to the foreign worker. So visa officer always keep the same thing in mind. He always analyze the situation accordingly. It is important that the employer, whatever the the promises he's making in the contract, whether or not he's able to fulfill or not. So if he's saying he's gonna give the employer the accommodation for free, and based on the company structure, based on the income, based on everything, is it reasonable to provide these services? So these things are also takes into consideration. The past compliance of the employer or any person who recruited the foreign national for employer with the federal or provincial law that regulate employment or recruiting of employees in the province in which it is intended to foreign work. So I hope you understood this point. He must have not be involved in any infringement or contravention of the law with regards to the hiring a foreign worker only. All right, so this is important. These are some of the factors which visa officer evaluates whether or not this offer letter is made genuinely or not. If it's a case, if somebody is landing into Canada and they're requesting their friends or maybe through the lawyers or somebody requesting that, okay, please arrange me a job offer, because job offer is on sale right now in Canada. As you can see, I'm creating this video in 2018 and I hope you guys are aware of that. And anybody can arrange the job offer for thousands of dollars, the amount. So this is the case. A visa officer assess all these factors rigorously to come to a conclusion that whether or not this job offer is genuine. Right, assessing the conditions, assessing the performance, assessing the financial strength of the company, and everything is assessed. All right, So this is about the genuineness of job offer. Let's move on to the next one here. So assessment of the employment offered. All right. So whatever the employment is being offered, the checking the genuineness of the offer letter is one factor. And that further there are many factors, but that's only the one factor, that whether or not this employment is which is being offered is genuine or not. Then further there are some other factors. For example, the factor number B here, the employment of the foreign national is likely to have a neutral or positive effect on the labor market in Canada. So it's a very key point here, whether or not the foreign workers' presence in Canada is going to make a positive or substantial impact to the Canadian economy. All right. So this is the point. How do they assess it? Let me just dig deep into this. And here are the factors here. Yeah, you can see the assessment of an assessment effects on the labor market, an assessment provided by the Department of Labor, Department of Employment and Social Development with respect to the matters referred to this. Point number A, whether the employment of a foreign national will or is likely to result in direct job creation or job retention for Canadian citizens or permanent residents. They will evaluate this point as well, whether the employment of a foreign worker or will or likely to result in development or transfer of skills or knowledge for the benefit of Canadian citizens. So they will always prefer that Canadian labor should be preferred to be hired. In case you are not preferring that, I will also get into that, how what needs to be done to have to get the LMIA issued from the Employment and Social Development Board. All right, so I will get into that later in this video. So whether the employment of a foreign worker is likely to fill a labor shortage, it's a positive one. In case it's a labor shortage, then they will issue you the visa. There's no point on that. So whether the wages offered to the foreign national are consistent and a prevailing wage rate for the occupation and working conditions meet generally accepted by Canadian standards. All right, so these are some of the key points, and you can just stop the video and you can just simply study to develop your understanding around this. So this is number 2. These factors are also assessed by the visa officer while approving while making the decision. The issuance of work permit would not be inconsistent with the terms of any federal provincial agreement that applies to employers of foreign nationals. So there are certain agreements between the central government and the the provincial governments. So based on that, everything should be in sync. All right. So these are some of the points which are basically taken care by the visa officer while taking the decision. Now I will just move on to the efforts which are made by employer to obtain the LMIA for a foreign worker. So these are the requirements and fee also. LMIA fee and additional employer requirements here. A processing fee of 1,000 Canadian dollars applies to each labor market impact assessment application unless the application is made strictly in support of permanent residency. A 100 Canadian dollars privilege fee is also required. So in total 1,100 Canadian dollars are required to be paid in case the LMIA is issued for solely for the purpose of work permit only. But if you are applying through express entry system, you are having a job offer, you are receiving a job offer, in that case the fee would be waived off. All right, so Canadian employers must undertake advertisement efforts. This is very important, and this is where getting a LMIA becomes more difficult because it will take so much time. Okay, so this is for the employment from the employer standpoint, what he needs to do. And Canadian employer must undertake advertisement efforts, Canada Job Bank, or at least 4 weeks prior to submitting an LMIA application. So Canada Job Bank is a government approved uh, job portal in Canada, whereby, as mentioned here, every Canadian employer must undertake advertisement efforts at this website. And if you're having a requirement or vacancy, you should post your job here as an employer, and for at least 4 weeks prior to submitting the LMI application. Before, for 1 month, your advertisement should be there, and employers are further required to demonstrate at least 2 other recruitment methods used to target potential hires other than the Canadian Bank website. ESDC will also be looking for further evidence that underrepresented groups of Canadians were pursued and considered for the position, for example, disabled people and aboriginals and youth. So there's so many things which employer had to go through or have to go through to get the LMI approved. So as they mentioned, at least 2 other recruitment methods should also be targeted. So one is job bank. The employer must choose or must select other 2 advertisement methods. As he or she may use any other job bank website, not this one obviously. Apart from this, they may use Indeed or the other website. They may also go for some other methods which are available, as you know. And so this is also important here and indispensable. Basically, English and French are the only 2 languages eligible to be listed as employment requisites, and for the purpose of LMI application. So ESDC officers are largely hesitant to approve an LMI application if the employer has indicated a language other than English or French was used as a determinant. It really makes the visa officer skeptical about the hire. Why? Because, and the process also, or the interviews also, which might have gone through, because Canada is an English speaking country, and whosoever is coming there, coming here, he or she must have at least sufficient knowledge of English. They must be able to speak, they must be able to listen at least. So these 2 are the main important things, and obviously the read also. And that is why for live-in caregivers and also for the work permit applicants, the language requirements are the language skills requirements are not that much, but they should be having at least 5 bands out of 10 in IELTS if they choose to go through. And this is important because in a practical scenario, for example, let's say if a live-in caregiver is working in a house, and in case of an emergency, he or she must be able to dial an emergency contact helpline or something. She must be do something. So for that, she requires to have some amount of English level, skill level, obviously. So in that case, that is why English language is very important. Even if you are trying for a work permit here, you need to have clear the IELTS test and try to score at least 5 or more. That will help. And Canadian employers must attest that they are prohibited from laying off or reducing the hours of the Canadian if the company employs foreign temporary workers. So the employer have to promise there that they will not be laying off this foreign worker, so that it will become the responsibility of the government, right? So they do not want that, obviously. So yeah, this is also an important thing which is required to be taken care by the employer. So these are the things. And if you ask me how much time it's take after this procedure, after posting the advertisement on the website and further trying through other methods, for at least 3 months, for at least 4 weeks on the job bank website. Additionally, for another 2 months, the employer has to target interview people. Yeah, it's very important. They also have to interview people as well, and they also have to present the evidence to the officer that they have interviewed people, they couldn't find the sufficient skilled labor, and they have to prove it. Why they could not find the similar the particular requirement, these particular requirements in Canada itself? So why are they hiring the foreign worker? What is the requirement here? Why are they preferring the foreign workers over Canadian labor? So there's so many things. And prior submitting the application, 1 month obviously they'll be advertising, and after that, because it will take 3 months usually, and alongside that also they'll have to keep on doing the same. So till the till the confirmation or till the approval of LMIA, if nothing happens, they'll approve it. All right, so it usually take 3 to 4 months, and it might take more time as well based on the influx of applications there. So now I'm just gonna disclose a very important thing, which we also usually, I personally also usually receive so many calls regarding whether, the other day I received a call from one of my I would say friend, because that person was from Andhra Pradesh, and he called me up for the just to verify whether or not the employment offer which is being offered to him was genuine or not. So I still have the copy, but I cannot show you that. But I do have original copy of LMIA, and I'm just gonna show you today, which you might not be able to find on the Google, right? So on any website. So this might help you to understand and to develop understanding around how to verify the job offer, which whether or not it's genuine or not, or obviously. So let's move on to that. So this is the letter here. It's a bit blurry. Why I'm saying? Because there's some personal information involved in this. So but still I'm just showing it to you with the approval from the owner of this. All right, and this is the page number 1 of labor market opinion confirmation. This, all right, this is an old one, and it's pretty old. Basically now the name of labor market opinion has changed to labor market impact assessment. So here you can see the information about the board, obviously the service center who has issued this particular letter, and this information is about the employer. All right, this is about the employer, and this is being directed to the employer only. All right, and this is being issued by Employment and Social Development Board in Canada. And if you really want to read everything, you can just simply stop the video and just look at it, because I'm gonna just move on to the next page here. And here you can see the signatures of the officer who has issued the letter. All right, and this is very important page here, because you're gonna find so much information here. And even if you are getting any fake letter, if you feel that it's fake, there are so many numbers mentioned here. Just try to call them. In case it connects, just ask for further information. And additionally also you can just Google and just look for the contact helpline of Employment Social Development Board, and just try to verify whether or not it's genuine or not. All right, so Service Canada Center, it's mentioned here, and phone number is also mentioned here. The officer who has approved the application, yeah, it's mentioned here. And the expiry date is also, usually the expiry date remains for 6 months, and employer ID and employer name here, and then the contact name from the company, from the employer. And this is the worker information here. As you can see, the last name of the worker, first name of the worker, job code, yeah, and level of education is not mentioned here, not specified by the employer. Or language requirements here. So this is required, or oral English and Tamil, or whatever the requirements are. Duration of employment, it's mentioned here, 3 years. Wage rate per year. All right, so benefits, disability insurance, medical insurance, dental insurance, and 30 days paid holidays. Hours of work, 8 hours, 48 hours per week. Location of employment, this. So this is something which you can stop the video and just look at it rigorously. And I hope this might help you, because we are coming across so much fraud in India. We are, receiving so many. I personally have seen so many videos on YouTube, and I've seen it, and it's really disturbing to see. I mean, how people are being caught because they are not having any knowledge of that, and there are very smart people in this industry who are just taking an unfair advantage of, the people who are not that much knowledgeable. So this is just for you. I just want to help you guys so that you can develop your understanding and be very precise and be very vigilant in all the ways. So in case of any questions, please comment down below. I will just try to answer them, and we will discuss in detail. All right. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great day. Bye.